Anyone else like to speak? Question? Comment? Gentlemen?
A couple of questions really. I'm somewhere between both camps, I have to say. I'm swayed by both arguments, but I have to ask Richard, I don't quite understand this concept of a no-money society. I can't see how it will work. You'd have to put something in place to take the place of money. I mean, why would people want to do menial jobs if they're not going to get paid, if they're not going to get any kind of compensation? And there's still an element of exploitation which will come into that, presumably, because it's human nature. And another question for Eamonn, with regards to capitalism. The reason why, at the moment, of course, I don't think we can deny that there's been a lot of money generated, and we're much better off now due to capitalism. But ultimately speaking, if we're still in the minority, can you honestly say that capitalism could work if all 6 billion people on the planet were capitalists? I can't see it possibly could.
Well, I think in China you're going to have 1 billion of them pretty soon.
Well, it's all going to come tumbling down, surely. There's no way that using the capitalist models that we've got at the moment, that the world will survive, even if another 50% of the population were capitalist.
Why? I'm sorry, I don't quite understand.
Well, because of the amount of exploitation. Look at the wealth that we live in here. I mean, there's no way if you actually sort of...
Sorry, who is being exploited?
Well, I mean, there's people in this country that's being exploited, and there's people throughout the world that are exploited. I mean, if you actually sort of worked out how much it was that you're getting paid for producing goods. I mean, you mentioned things from Argentina or from Egypt. You know, I mean, the reason why we can afford to have cotton shirts at £1.50 from Matalan is because someone's getting paid pittance for it. If they live in the same society that we live in here, capitalism wouldn't possibly work unless there's someone to exploit. I mean, surely that's common sense. I can't see how it could possibly be. If the whole world is capitalist, it wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, I find this a difficult argument to explain, because we in this country are all so rich that we think of the world as being almost as rich as we are. And the reality is that, you know, take take Vietnam for example. And everybody complains about how Nike has shoe factories in Vietnam, and they're paid absolutely nothing at all, and they work long hours, and Nike gets very rich, and these people are exploited and kept in poverty. The reverse is actually true. That the alternatives in Vietnam are either that you are working in the field under a hot sun with insects and you name it, not a very pleasant existence, or you can take a job in a Nike factory, and that's what people do, and they're not forced to do it. They do it because it is a better alternative than what they've got at the moment. And you're sufficiently rich that you think, oh, this is outrageous. But for them, it's a step up. And they can get that step up, and then they get a bit of money together, and they buy a bicycle, and then they buy a scooter, and then they buy a car.
As soon as they become a state like Singapore, where they have high earnings, and everyone demands the same kind of goods that we've all got used to. I mean, no, the whole world can't end up being like Singapore.
I'm very interested here. Let's not have a discussion, please. Yeah. We're very short on time, so I'd just like to make sure everyone finally gets a comment.
Well, seconded by 3 falls or a knockout out.
Do you want to ask them very briefly?
I have to make the same point as I made the question there. We will not get to such a society if people are going to not do those things. That is our whole point. We are asking people to change their consciousness now, to break out of their mindset that people are going to do this. We want to ourselves try to change the way we live now so that we don't become and are not grasping people. We will not reach a state where socialism is possible unless the overwhelming majority of people in the world have so transformed in their consciousness that the thought of taking more than they need would seem utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, I understand that, but how do you do the menial jobs?
Well, the menial jobs, you know, who does them in the family? We all do menial jobs. We all go and help people out. In the place where I live, in Woodcote, you know, menial jobs are done by all of us to help people out. It's really not the problem you think. I saw this comedian once, and I heard this comedian once, and he was talking about work, and he said how horrible it was, and how people went 9 to 5, or longer than that now, went 9 to 5, went break for 5 o'clock, and then at 9, the alarm went in the morning, you had to get up at blooming 9 o'clock every morning. And then he said, but what happens when you leave work? Oh, Mrs. Jones, she wants her toilet unblocked. I'll just go and do that. Well, it's only midnight, never mind, I'll go at it for a bit longer. It's a different concept. We help one another when the benefits of such cooperation reap happiness to us all.
Okay, there's a gentleman here. We're going to call a halt to questions in a moment, so if you could keep it brief, please.
It's just that a small footnote to your comments that if nations traded with each other, they wouldn't want to go to war. This is not true. There's ample evidence that Stalin's Russia did a lot of trade with Hitler's Germany. And one of the great unwritten pages in the history of the 20th century is the enormous amount of support that Nazi Germany received from the big American corporations. And of course, in the First World War, there was this story, I think it's true, that there was a small part of every rifle that was used by German infantrymen that had a British patent on it. And throughout the whole of the First World War, or a large part of the First World War, the German government paid these royalties in gold through neutral Holland to the British. So a lot of it did go on. And I don't think you can really support this idea that if countries traded with each other, that they weren't going to war. There was evidence also that the